There's a moment every young soul faces. That first time you walk into a room full of power and realize you're invisible. Your heartbeat becomes your only soundtrack. Your mind keeps whispering, "Do I belong here?" And while you drown in self-doubt, someone else in that same room is silently watching, calm, still, observing every move. They already know who holds the power, who's faking confidence, who's scared, who's trying too hard. They're not louder, just more awake. Look, I know what it feels like to want control, to want respect, to crave a seat at the table. But here's the truth. Nobody tells you. The loudest one in the room rarely wins. The one who sees everything does. So breathe. Stop performing. Watch how people move. Read the unspoken words in their silence. Because power doesn't come from speaking first. It comes from understanding what everyone else is really saying. And if you can learn to see, you'll never again need to beg to be seen. Most people walk into a room trying to be noticed. They want the handshake, the smile, the validation that says, "You belong here." But the real ones, the ones who move the world, they walk in differently. They don't rush to speak. They don't compete for attention. They're busy doing something most people never master. They're observing. Because observation isn't passive. It's not silence. It's strategy. It's the art of studying people until their patterns unfold before your eyes like a map. It's the ability to see what others hide, to sense the truth before it's spoken. And once you learn this, you stop being controlled by the room. You start controlling it quietly. Look, I've seen it all. I've watched people with talent crumble because they couldn't read the energy around them. They spoke too soon. They misjudged the tone. They mistook noise for respect. And I've seen the quiet ones, the ones who sat back, eyes sharp, taking it all in, rise higher than anyone expected. Because power listens before it talks. When you're young, you think strength is volume. You think confidence means talking first, standing tallest, being bold. But real power doesn't rush. Real power walks in like still water, calm, deep, aware. It absorbs everything. Every shift, every glance, every small hesitation in someone's voice. You want to know who truly runs a room? It's the one who doesn't have to announce it. It's the person who knows exactly who to talk to, when to speak, and what to say. Not because they guessed, but because they observed. Observation teaches you timing, and timing is everything. See, timing is not luck. It's the science of awareness. The observer notices when opportunity breathes. They feel the subtle change in air when silence becomes permission to speak. They wait until the noise dies down and then deliver one line. Calm, clear, devastatingly precise. That's when the room turns. That's when people remember your name. Here's the unpolished truth. Most people are too busy thinking about themselves to notice anyone else. They're trapped inside their insecurities. Do I look okay? Did I say that right? Do they like me? They're playing defense in a game they don't even understand. But when you stop obsessing over how you appear and start paying attention to what's happening, everything changes. You stop reacting and start reading. You start seeing what's underneath the surface. That colleague's fake smile? It's fear. That boss's silence? It's a test. That friend's sudden distance? It's insecurity wearing confidence like armor. Observation is X-ray vision for the soul. It's seeing the cracks behind the performance. It's knowing who's real and who's rehearsed. And when you have that kind of sight, people can't manipulate you anymore. You can't be fooled by charm or blinded by applause. You become untouchable. Now, don't get it twisted. Observation isn't judgment. It's awareness. Judgment is reactive. It closes the mind. Observation opens it. It's curiosity, not condemnation. When you observe, you don't assume. You understand. You look at someone's actions and ask, what pain built that behavior? You notice their tone and wonder, what story shaped that silence? That's how you grow wisdom beyond your years. And look, I know what it feels like to be young and hungry, trying to make your mark in a world that doesn't wait. I know the pressure to speak up, to prove you're worth something. But sometimes the most powerful move is restraint. Because when everyone's talking, the one who listens becomes the one who learns. The observer collects data no one else has. They study reactions, test words like chess pieces, and move only when the board is clear. It's not hesitation, it's precision. The observer becomes the strategist while everyone else fights for attention. Let me give you a picture. Imagine you walk into a meeting, 10 people at the table, each trying to outshine the next. Voices clashing, ideas colliding. You stay quiet. You study the flow. Who interrupts? Who defends? Who folds? You notice who glances at the boss before speaking, who holds eye contact, and who looks away. By the time it's your turn, you already know the hierarchy. You know the fragile egos, the silent decision makers, the real influencers. You speak once, maybe twice, but your words land where they matter. That's power. Observation gives you control without confrontation. It gives you influence without noise. It's the quiet art of reading the room before the room reads you. And here's another truth. Observation isn't just for others, it's for yourself. Because when you learn to watch others, you start seeing your own habits with clarity. You notice when you speak out of fear instead of conviction. You catch yourself performing instead of connecting. You start holding yourself accountable to what you see, not what you say. That's when growth becomes real. Observation trains you to see truth, not the version people advertise, but the one they reveal through their energy. Every gesture, every hesitation, every choice tells a story. The deeper your observation, the sharper your intuition. You begin to sense alignment before words confirm it. You start walking into opportunities others can't even recognize. Because, here's the thing, when you learn to see people, you learn to move them, not through manipulation, but through understanding. You start speaking to what they need, not just what they hear. You become magnetic because you're present. You see them when no one else does. And people never forget the one who sees them. Real talk. Observation will cost you comfort. Once you start noticing everything, you can't go back. You'll see lies in smiles, emptiness in ambition, loneliness in laughter. You'll recognize pain behind pride. But that awareness is your evolution. It's how you stop walking blind through a world full of illusions. The observer becomes the architect. They build reality with precision. They know who to trust, when to step, when to wait. They don't gamble with emotion or energy. They invest it wisely. In the beginning, it'll feel strange. You'll feel detached, maybe even lonely. You'll wonder if awareness makes life colder. But give it time. Observation doesn't distance you, it deepens you. It gives you compassion without blindness, power without arrogance. You'll start navigating life like a quiet storm, moving with intention, never in panic. And when people ask, "How do you stay so calm under pressure?" you'll smile because you know something they don't. You're not reacting, you're observing. You've already seen the play before it happens. You're 3 moves ahead, not because you're lucky, but because you paid attention. That's what separates the loud from the legendary. The loud ones chase validation. The observers command respect. The loud ones need the spotlight. The observers own the stage without ever stepping into the light. Power isn't always visible. Sometimes it's the quietest force in the room. It's the person sitting still while the world rushes. The one who says little but means everything. The one who doesn't need to win the argument because they already understand the outcome. So here's my advice. Stop trying to impress. Start trying to see. Every room has a rhythm. Every person carries a story. Every silence has a reason. If you can read that, truly read it, you'll never be lost in chaos again. Observation is more than skill. It's survival. It's how you turn awareness into wisdom, perception into power. Because the world doesn't belong to the loudest voice. It belongs to the sharpest eyes. Most people live like pawns on a chessboard, reacting to every move, every insult, every twist of circumstance, never realizing the board was designed to make them react. They wake up to notifications, to arguments, to pressure. And every reaction they give is energy handed to someone else. They think they're fighting for control, but they're really giving it away, one emotion at a time. The powerful, though, they see life differently. They don't chase moves. They study the board. They know when to speak, when to hold, when to sacrifice, and when to strike. They don't get dragged into the noise. They define the frame. And that's the difference between the average and the architect. The average person lives inside other people's stories. The architect writes their own. Look, here's the thing. Most people are addicted to reacting. Someone disrespects them, they explode. Someone doubts them, they overprove. Someone posts something online, they rush to respond. That's emotional slavery. It's the illusion of control. Because the second someone can pull your emotion like a string, you're not leading anymore. You're being led. Real control begins when you stop letting the world decide how you feel. When you stop dancing to noise and start mastering the frame. Let me tell you a truth that's not pretty but necessary. The world doesn't reward the loudest energy. It rewards the calmest clarity. The one who holds the frame defines the meaning. If someone tries to provoke you and you stay still, they start questioning themselves. If someone insults you and you don't flinch, the power shifts instantly. Because silence, when owned, becomes authority. You ever seen a lion react to barking dogs? It doesn't. It just walks. That's frame. That's control. And yeah, I know that's not easy. When you feel misunderstood, when you're grinding and no one sees it, when someone disrespects you, your instinct screams to respond, to prove, to defend. But here's the truth. The moment you fight for recognition, you lose your power. The moment you chase validation, you hand them your frame. The real masters don't chase validation, they create gravity. People orbit around them because their energy is consistent, their reaction rare, their presence grounded. Control the frame, and the noise can't touch you. Imagine life as a chessboard. Each piece represents a person, a situation, a challenge. The pawns rush, the knights twist, the queen moves fast. But the master? He watches first. He studies positions, not emotions. He knows that reacting too early is how you lose the game. Because every great player understands the move before the move determines everything. When you start seeing life like that, your world slows down. You stop rushing. You start reading. You begin to recognize patterns. You know when people are acting from fear, when they're masking insecurity, when they're testing you. And you stop taking things personally because you realize it was never about you. It was about the game they're playing in their own mind. Most people never see that far. They think everything's about them, every tone, every word, every silence. But once you step back, once you zoom out, you see the full board. You stop playing checkers with emotional people and start playing chess with time itself. And that's the shift from reaction to creation. You're not here to control people. You're here to control perception, not to manipulate, but to lead. To frame meaning in a way that serves your growth instead of feeding chaos. Look, let's get real. There will always be noise. People will talk, criticize, misunderstand. The world will throw curveballs, deadlines, distractions. If your peace depends on silence from others, you'll never find it. Peace isn't found in silence, it's built through inner stillness. And stillness isn't weakness, it's mastery. Think about it. Have you ever been around someone who didn't react, no matter what happened? They don't argue, they don't panic, they just observe. That kind of presence changes a room. It bends tension. Because in a world of reactors, the calm one becomes the compass. That's frame control. You become the still point in a spinning world. You stop saying, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What's this trying to teach me?" You stop saying, "They made me angry." No, you chose to hand them your peace, and you start choosing differently. Here's another raw truth. Most people don't lack power, they leak it. Every argument, every need for attention, every emotional reaction is energy spent. And by the end of the day, they wonder why they feel empty. It's because they gave their strength to noise that never mattered. But the observer, the strategist, the one who holds frame, they conserve energy. They use emotion like a weapon, precisely, purposefully. They know that every reaction is a resource, and every wasted word weakens their presence. Let me paint you a picture. You're at work. A colleague takes credit for your idea. Everyone's watching. Your heart jumps. The heat rises in your chest. The old version of you wants to call them out, prove your worth. But the powerful version of you pauses. You read the room. You realize this isn't the battlefield. This is just noise. So you stay composed. You speak calmly. You save your evidence. You choose your moment. And when it comes, maybe days later, you reveal the truth in a way that no one can ignore. You didn't react. You redirected. That's control. See, life will keep testing you until you learn that control isn't about domination, it's about direction. It's not about suppressing emotion, it's about mastering response. You don't kill the noise, you rise above its frequency. And once you start doing that, everything changes. Opportunities find you. Respect finds you. Even your silence starts speaking louder than your words. Because people can feel when you're not desperate to prove anything. You radiate certainty. Let's be honest. Control is misunderstood. Most people think control means manipulating everything around them. But real control begins inside. It's when your emotions answer to your vision, not your impulses. When your peace isn't up for auction. When you can walk through chaos and stay centered. That's how you become the one others look to when things fall apart. You stop feeding fires and start building foundations. There's something magnetic about a person who doesn't flinch, who doesn't bend to gossip or react to disrespect. Because deep down, everyone respects restraint, even those who mock it. They know how rare it is. But restraint isn't passivity. Don't confuse the two. Frame control doesn't mean you never speak up. It means you speak from strength, not reaction. You choose moments that matter. You understand that not every fight deserves your presence. Some only deserve your silence. Because silence can't be misquoted. When you hold frame, people start to adjust themselves to your rhythm. The temperature of the room changes to your calm. That's when influence begins. Not from force, from energy alignment. And here's something else. The frame isn't just about people. It's about your environment, your habits, your mind. If you don't define your frame, the world will define it for you. The media will. Social media will. Friends, family, fear. They'll all design your reality. You'll find yourself living someone else's dream, reacting to someone else's pressure, chasing someone else's validation. You have to reclaim authorship. Wake up each morning and decide, what's my frame today? Is it gratitude, focus, peace, growth? Once you set it, everything you face bends around it. You stop being a passenger and start being the driver again. Look, everyone wants control, but few want discipline. Observation without discipline is just curiosity. Discipline turns awareness into dominance. You can't master the frame if you can't master yourself. So practice it every day. Don't just observe others. Observe your own reactions. When something annoys you, pause. When someone tests you, breathe. When things go wrong, zoom out. Remind yourself, the board is bigger than this move. Because the one who reacts fast loses sight. The one who responds slow sees clearly. Real control is invisible. It's quiet. It's unshakable. It's walking into chaos with your peace intact. It's smiling when provoked because you already see the lesson behind the moment. And when people ask, how do you stay calm when everything's falling apart? You'll tell them, because I stopped playing the noise. I started playing the frame. You're not here to prove your power. You're here to embody it. And once you do, the game bends around you. That's the secret kings and queens of every arena know. Control isn't in the crown. It's in the composure. You want power? Stop reacting. Start reading. Control the frame, and you'll never again be ruled by the noise. In a world addicted to noise, silence has become the rarest form of power. Everywhere you turn, someone is shouting for attention, validation, approval. People rush to speak before they think, post before they reflect, act before they plan. And then they wonder, why does peace always escape them? Why do they feel exhausted after every decision? Why do they drown in chaos even when they're doing everything right? Because they've mistaken speed for progress and noise for significance. But the one who learns the language of silence, the one who knows how to pause before reacting, how to breathe before speaking, how to wait before deciding, becomes unstoppable. Silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. It's not the absence of action, it's the foundation of mastery. Look at history's greatest minds. Every single one of them understood this. When everyone else was running in circles, they were sitting still, observing, calculating, waiting. Because when you're calm, you can see what the frantic cannot. You see, silence has its own kind of rhythm. It slows the world down just enough for you to hear the whispers of your own intuition, that quiet voice inside that says, "This is the way." It doesn't scream. It doesn't demand. It guides. And when you move from that inner voice instead of external pressure, your decisions cut deeper, your path becomes clearer, your results last longer. People who chase noise always burn out. People who honor silence always rise up. You've probably seen it in your own life. The loudest person in the room rarely has the answers. The calm one in the corner, the one who listens more than they speak, that's the one who knows what's going on. They're not detached, they're decoding. Because silence isn't emptiness, it's awareness. And awareness is power. When you stop reacting instantly, you create space between stimulus and response, and in that space lives your freedom. You stop being a puppet of emotion and start being the sculptor of your future. Most people are slaves to noise. The phone buzzes, they check it. Someone insults them, they argue. An opportunity appears. They jump without thinking. And then they fall. And then they fall. But the masters, the quiet warriors, they wait. They let the emotion settle. They let the truth reveal itself through patience. And when they move with precision. That's why silence speaks louder than speed. Because while others sprint blindfolded toward chaos, the calm one walks with purpose toward destiny. Let me tell you something. Stillness doesn't mean inaction. Stillness means clarity before motion. The archer pulls the string back before releasing the arrow. The calm before the storm is what gives the storm its power. And yet, so many people fear silence. They can't sit alone with their thoughts for 5 minutes. They need music, noise, distraction, drama, anything to avoid hearing themselves. But what they don't realize is that silence is where strength is forged. In silence, you meet yourself, your fears, your flaws, your truth. And if you can stand in that stillness without running away, you become unbreakable. Think of the lion before it strikes. It's not pacing. It's not roaring. It's not making noise. It's watching, measuring, waiting. And when the time comes, it attacks with precision and power. That's the energy of silence. Speed is a drug. It feels productive. It feels alive. But it's a false high. Noise is a mask. It makes you feel important, but it hides insecurity. The one who can slow time within themselves, that's the one who wins the long game. When everyone else is chasing the next thing, silence teaches you to build the right thing. When everyone else is reacting emotionally, silence trains you to respond intelligently. When everyone else is afraid of stillness, silence allows you to master it. That's when you rise above, because silence gives birth to power, moves, the kind that shake the world without saying a word. When you act from silence, your actions echo louder than any speech. When you decide from silence, your decisions carry divine precision. When you speak after silence, every word lands like thunder. You don't need to tell people you're strong. Let your calm prove it. You don't need to argue to show you're right. Let your results reveal it. You don't need to rush to seem ambitious. Let your consistency announce it. That's the paradox. Silence, not noise, builds legacy. Even in battle, the warrior who breathes slow, who listens before striking, outlasts the one who swings wildly in rage. Because silence isn't surrender, it's control. Control of mind, control of energy, control of destiny. So learn to master your silence. Protect it. Use it as your secret weapon. You don't owe the world a reaction. You don't owe everyone an explanation. You don't have to comment on every storm that passes your way. Some storms are meant to be watched, not fought. Let them rage. You stay still. Let them shout. You stay focused. Because the calm one always outlasts the chaos. It's not that you move slower, it's that you move smarter. You understand that every great transformation begins in quiet preparation. Before the athlete explodes into motion, there's a breath. Before the symphony roars to life, there's silence. Before the dawn breaks, there's darkness. That's not weakness, that's rhythm. So if life feels still right now, don't panic. Don't mistake your pause for failure. You're recharging, realigning, rebuilding. You're preparing for the next chapter that requires a different version of you. The impatient ones will call you lazy. The loud ones will call you invisible. But silence doesn't seek validation. It seeks evolution. You're not behind. You're becoming. Remember this. A rocket makes the loudest noise during takeoff. But once it reaches orbit, silence. Because at the highest level, noise disappears. Only focus remains. So when people doubt your stillness, smile. When they rush ahead without direction, watch. When they speak to be heard, listen to understand. Because one day, when their energy burns out, they'll look up and see you there. Calm, steady, powerful, moving with purpose, not pressure. And that's when they'll realize you were never quiet because you were weak. You were quiet because you were building something noise could never understand. That's the secret. That's the art. Silence is not the absence of power. It's the containment of it. So be the calm before your own storm. Be the stillness that shakes the ground. Move when it's time. Speak when it matters. And when you do, let the world feel the weight of every quiet decision you made. Because silence, true silence, is the voice of the unstoppable. Most people move through life blindfolded, bumping into others, shocked every time someone betrays them, lies to them, or disappoints them. They keep saying, "I didn't see that coming." But the truth is, it was always there. They just never learned how to read it. Every person you meet carries a map, not drawn on paper, but written in patterns. Their tone, their pauses, the way they treat waiters, the way they talk about others when those others aren't in the room. Every small thing is a signpost pointing toward who they truly are. You don't need to be psychic to understand people. You just need to watch, not react. You need to listen, not assume. And, most importantly, you need to remember what you've seen. Human behavior isn't random. It's repetitive. People are consistent in their contradictions. The liar will lie again. The victim will always find a reason to be hurt again. The ego-driven will always turn every story into their own reflection. You can predict all of this if you stop being surprised by it. When you start reading people like maps, life becomes clearer. You stop giving your trust away like candy and start investing it like gold. You stop falling for words and start believing actions. You stop wondering, why did they do this to me? And start realizing this is who they are. That shift from confusion to clarity changes everything. Because the moment you understand someone's pattern, you take back your power. You're no longer reacting. You're reading. You're charting. You're navigating. See, people think relationships are about emotions, but they're really about observation. You don't need to judge people. You just need to understand their map. Every person shows you three layers. 1, what they say. 2, what they do. 3, what they repeat. Most only listen to the first layer, the words, but the wise listen to the third, the pattern. Because the pattern never lies. The person who forgets to call you back 3 times isn't forgetful. They're prioritizing something else. The person who praises you in public but mocks others behind their backs will one day mock you too. The one who always needs to win every argument isn't confident. They're insecure and addicted to control. Once you recognize these patterns, you can predict outcomes before they happen. That's what it means to read people like maps. You navigate their behavior like a terrain you've studied before. You know where the cliffs are. You know where the traps are. And you stop falling into holes that others pretend are surprises. But let's go deeper. To read people well, you must first learn to quiet your own emotional noise. Because emotion clouds perception. When you want someone to be good, you'll ignore every sign that they're not. When you fear losing them, you'll justify every red flag. And when you crave validation, you'll mistake manipulation for care. That's why silence and stillness, the skill we learned in the previous chapter, are crucial here. Only a calm mind can see clearly. Only a detached heart can read accurately. When you stop projecting your hopes onto people, you start seeing their truth. Someone's tone tells you their respect. Their patience tells you their discipline. Their reactions under pressure tell you their character. People reveal more when they think no one is watching, so watch quietly. The person who constantly needs to prove their worth. They don't believe in it. The one who keeps reminding you how loyal they are. They're preparing an excuse for when they won't be. And the one who remains humble even when they win. That's the kind of person you build with. You see, reading people isn't about judgment, it's about discernment. You're not condemning anyone. You're simply deciding who gets access to you. That's wisdom. You don't owe everyone your energy. You don't have to keep giving chances to those who show you the same pattern twice. Once is a mistake. Twice is a decision. 3 times is self-sabotage. Some people are detours, not destinations. And your job isn't to fix their map. It's to protect yours. But here's the twist. To truly read others, you must also learn to read yourself. Because sometimes the map you misread is your own. You keep attracting takers because you don't set boundaries. You keep trusting the wrong ones because you confuse chemistry with character. You keep repeating old pain because you haven't healed the version of you who first accepted it. When you read your own map, you stop driving in circles. You stop repeating lessons that the universe keeps sending back because you ignored them the first time. You start leading your life with awareness, and that awareness becomes your armor. In this world, power doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from seeing what others overlook. You don't have to out-talk people, just out-observe them. When everyone else is trying to be understood, be the one who understands. When everyone is busy talking, be the one who listens deeply. Because the listener always controls the conversation, and the observer always holds the advantage. There's something magnetic about a person who listens, studies, and moves wisely. They make people nervous because they can't be manipulated. They make people curious because they reveal nothing yet see everything. That's the strength of the one who reads people like maps. They're not controlled by emotion, but guided by awareness. They don't fall for words. They wait for patterns. And when the pattern confirms the truth, they move accordingly. No drama, no anger, no explanation. Just calm decisions. Because once you see someone clearly, there's nothing left to argue about. You stop needing closure. You stop needing apologies. You simply understand and act accordingly. It's like looking at a weather map. If the storm is heading your way, you don't stand outside and scream at the clouds. You take shelter. You adjust your route. You don't hate the rain. You respect its nature. That's how you should treat people too. If someone's nature is chaos, don't expect peace. If someone's pattern is betrayal, don't expect loyalty. Respect their design and protect your direction. Because when you read people as they are, not as you wish them to be, you gain freedom. Freedom from disappointment. Freedom from manipulation. Freedom from confusion. You move through life with your eyes open, and that's the ultimate form of emotional intelligence. So from now on, stop saying, "I didn't know." Start saying, "I saw the signs, and I chose differently." Observe more. React less. Remember what people show you, not what they say. And when in doubt, watch how they treat the powerless, because that's their truest map. Every person tells you who they are, eventually. You just have to stop pretending you can't read it. So study people the way a pilot studies the sky. Calm, focused, aware. Because if you can read the map of human nature, you'll never get lost in emotional storms again. And that is how you rise above the noise. Not by fighting it, but by understanding it. By knowing where every road leads and choosing the ones that build your peace. There is no greater enemy of growth than the need to be seen. The hunger to prove, to impress, to win at all costs. It blinds even the sharpest mind. Because when your focus is on proving yourself, you stop improving yourself. Ego is clever. It doesn't shout, "I'm here." It whispers, "You're right." It tells you you're better than others. It tells you you don't need advice. It tells you you've already arrived, while quietly pulling a blindfold over your eyes. And that's how it works. Ego blocks vision. You stop seeing opportunities because you're obsessed with validation. You stop hearing truth because you're addicted to praise. You stop learning because you can't admit you still have more to learn. And slowly, your greatness suffocates under the weight of your own pride. You see, ego doesn't always look arrogant. Sometimes it looks insecure. Sometimes it's the voice that says, "They didn't appreciate you." Sometimes it's the thought that says, "You're not enough, so prove it." That's still ego, the wounded kind that hides behind overcompensation. When you walk into a room thinking you have something to prove, you've already lost. Because the truly powerful never need to prove, they just are. Their silence is confidence. Their restraint is control. Their humility is their loudest statement. Ego makes you chase illusions, fame, applause, status, none of which last. But awareness makes you chase truth, mastery, peace, fulfillment, all of which endure. The ego wants recognition. The soul wants evolution. And every day, you must choose which one will lead you. When you're driven by ego, you see competition everywhere. When you're guided by awareness, you see collaboration. When you're led by ego, every challenge feels like an attack. When you're guided by awareness, every challenge feels like a lesson. That's the difference between growing and proving. People lose their way not because they lack talent, but because they let ego blur their focus. They start fighting imaginary enemies, comparing journeys, chasing shadows of approval. And by the time they realize it, they burned all their energy defending a version of themselves that doesn't even exist. Ego blocks vision by building walls of pride around your perception. You stop seeing the people who want to help you. You stop noticing the lessons that pain is trying to teach you. You stop hearing the wisdom behind criticism, because the ego says they're attacking you, but awareness says they're awakening you. Every person you meet reflects something about you, but if you're blinded by ego, you'll only see threat, not truth. The teacher will appear, but you'll reject them because they made you uncomfortable. The opportunity will knock, but you'll miss it because it didn't look how your pride imagined it. And the truth will stand right in front of you, but you'll turn away because ego hates mirrors. Listen, the most dangerous part about ego is that it can disguise itself as confidence. It'll make you think you're strong when you're just stubborn. It'll make you think you're wise when you're just unteachable. It'll make you think you're in control when you're really being controlled by fear. Real confidence doesn't come from being right. It comes from being willing to learn, to fail, to evolve. It comes from knowing that every person, no matter who they are, can teach you something. Ego closes your ears. Awareness opens your eyes. You cannot grow in the same space where your ego feels safe. Growth lives on the other side of humility, where you're willing to be wrong, to start over, to listen deeply. Every time life humbles you, that's not punishment, that's purification. It's life scraping away the excess pride that blocks your vision. Every setback, every embarrassment, every loss, that's not rejection. That's redirection, because ego wants to be seen, but destiny wants you to see. You can't see the next level if you're still obsessed with being the loudest at the current one. Let others talk. You stay silent. Let others perform. You prepare. Let others chase followers. You chase mastery. That's the warrior's path. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, but it's clean, focused, and free. When you let go of ego, you start noticing what you've been missing. You begin to see that not every disagreement is disrespect. Not every loss is failure. Not every critic is your enemy. Sometimes your enemy is the part of you that can't handle truth. You have to look in the mirror and ask yourself, am I protecting my peace or my pride? Because pride will destroy relationships that awareness could have healed. Pride will make you quit projects that humility could have refined. Pride will make you defend mistakes that wisdom could have corrected. You'll know ego is speaking when everything feels like a battle. When you can't take feedback without anger. When you need to win even when it costs your peace. That's ego's territory, and it's a trap. But when you move from awareness, life flows differently. You can disagree without disrespect. You can lose without feeling small. You can learn without shame. Because awareness doesn't need to be right, it just needs to see clearly. Ego wants to be the smartest in the room. Awareness wants to sit with those who make it smarter. Ego wants to talk. Awareness wants to listen. Ego fights to be understood. Awareness works to understand. And one of them will always lead you to peace. The other will lead you to pain. You decide which one wins. It's not easy. Ego will fight back. It'll whisper, "You've earned this. You don't need to listen." But every time you humble yourself enough to learn, to say, "Maybe I'm wrong," to stay teachable, you take one more step toward greatness. Because humility isn't weakness, it's awareness without the mask. It's power under control. The most disciplined warriors bow before wisdom. The most successful leaders keep learning. The most respected voices speak less and listen more. So drop the need to impress. Drop the urge to prove. You don't need validation. You need clarity. You don't need praise. You need purpose. Your vision sharpens the moment you stop looking for mirrors. You start seeing life as it is, not as your ego wants it to be. And suddenly, everything becomes clear. You see who's for you and who's using you. You see which paths lead to growth and which lead to vanity. You see how small battles are stealing energy from your true war, the one inside you. Because the real fight isn't with others. It's between your ego and your awareness. The ego wants to shine. Awareness wants to serve. Ego builds an image. Awareness builds a legacy. And when you finally understand that, you become untouchable. You stop needing to defend your worth. You start living it. You stop chasing attention. You start commanding respect through quiet mastery. You stop arguing because your results speak louder than your words ever could. That's the moment your vision clears. That's when you begin to see the world and yourself without distortion. Because once the fog of ego lifts, the path ahead becomes unmistakably simple. Stay humble. Stay hungry. Stay teachable. And let your awareness lead you to heights that your ego could never even imagine. There's a kind of power that doesn't come from muscles or money. It doesn't walk into a room trying to dominate. It just enters quietly and changes the temperature. That's emotional intelligence. the invisible skill that separates the ones who react from the ones who lead. It's the art of understanding emotions, yours and everyone else's, before they turn into explosions. It's knowing what you're feeling without letting it own you. It's reading what others are feeling without them saying a word. And if you can master that, brother, you can navigate any battlefield, boardroom, or broken heart with calm precision. Here's the thing. People like to think logic runs the world, but it doesn't. Emotion does. Every deal, every argument, every relationship, every decision, all of it runs on emotion first, reason second. That's not weakness. That's reality. And the ones who pretend otherwise are the ones getting played. The person who understands emotion can predict motion, because emotion determines what people do next. That's why it's your secret weapon. Real emotional intelligence starts with self-awareness. You have to know what's moving inside you before you can manage what's moving around you. Most people don't. They explode and then apologize. They react and then regret. They act like victims of their own moods. But when you know yourself, truly know yourself, you stop being manipulated by your own storms. It starts in silence. Before you respond, you pause. Before you speak, you breathe. Before you attack, you observe. And in that space, that small sacred pause, lives your power. Because power isn't in reacting fast. It's in responding right. People think control means suppressing emotions. No, it means understanding them. You can't master what you deny. If you feel anger, don't bury it. Name it. Study it. Ask it why it's there. Anger, jealousy, fear. They're messengers. They're trying to tell you what still hurts, what still scares you, what still matters. But if you ignore them, they turn from messengers into monsters. Emotional intelligence is the difference between getting triggered and getting taught, between exploding and evolving, between losing people and leading them. You learn to read your internal signals like weather patterns. You can feel the storm coming before it hits. And that awareness lets you choose. Do I walk into this thunder, or do I wait until it passes? Look, we've all been there. That moment when someone disrespects you and your whole body wants to respond. But you learn something as you grow. Not every reaction deserves your energy. Some things are beneath your response, not because you're weak, but because you're wise. That's emotional discipline. And discipline is emotional intelligence in action. When you can stay calm in chaos, people start to trust your presence. When everyone else is losing their mind and you're steady, they start looking to you for guidance, even the ones who outrank you. Because emotional balance radiates authority. See, most people are controlled by moods. You walk into a meeting and the energy feels off. Someone's angry, someone's insecure, someone's afraid. That atmosphere shapes the entire outcome before anyone says a word. But the emotionally intelligent person reads that instantly. They feel the tension before it erupts. They adjust their tone, their timing, their words. They don't react to the energy. They redirect it. That's silent leadership. The kind that doesn't demand attention but commands it. Emotional intelligence also means seeing beyond words. A person says they're fine, but their tone trembles. They smile, but their eyes withdraw. They brag, but you can sense the insecurity bleeding through. When you learn to read emotion, you start understanding people's motives before they act. You can sense when someone's lying, not because of what they say, but because of what they can't hide. You can see when someone's losing confidence, not because they admit it, but because their energy shifts. You can predict a conflict, not because anyone told you, but because you've learned to read the weather of human nature. And when you can do that, you lead from a place that others can't even see. Emotional intelligence doesn't just protect you, it elevates you. It lets you navigate relationships with grace, not force. You stop trying to win arguments and start winning understanding. You stop shouting to be heard and start listening to heal. That's what separates the leader from the loud one. Real leaders don't dominate. They harmonize. They create emotional balance in rooms that are falling apart. They see pain where others see defiance. They see fear where others see arrogance. And because of that vision, they can move people not through control, but through connection. I know this isn't easy. It's hard to stay calm when you're disrespected. It's hard to keep composure when you're misunderstood. But that's where greatness is built. In the moments when your ego wants to react and your awareness says, wait, you can't fake emotional intelligence. It's earned through scars, through reflection, through years of watching your own mistakes, until you finally understand what triggers you. Every person who ever hurt you was training you, teaching you where your emotional boundaries lie. Every moment you lost your temper was a mirror, not a failure. Every argument that left you exhausted was an education in self-control. The emotionally intelligent don't need to dominate people. They align them. They create space for understanding, not just authority. You become someone who can handle pressure without projecting it. Someone who can listen without judging. Someone who can be firm without being cruel. Because emotional intelligence isn't softness. It's strength refined. It's a sword with compassion on its edge. You'll notice something. People who lack emotional intelligence are always at war, with others, with themselves, with the world. They think chaos means they're alive. But peace is louder. Calm is sharper. Stillness is strength. And once you master that, you'll start seeing life differently. You'll stop chasing validation. You'll stop needing to prove your point. You'll stop personalizing other people's pain. You'll realize that how people treat you says more about their emotional state than your worth. And that realization, that deep, grounded awareness, will save you from 1,000 unnecessary battles. The truth is, the more emotionally intelligent you become, the fewer enemies you have. Because you start understanding people instead of judging them. You see that their anger is often fear. Their arrogance is insecurity. Their silence is pain. You learn to respond to emotion with empathy, not weakness, but wisdom. And here's the paradox. When you can feel deeply without being controlled by what you feel, people start trusting you instinctively. They open up. They follow you. They respect you. Because your calm becomes contagious. That's what true power feels like. The ability to bring peace to chaos. But remember, it starts with your own emotions. If you can't lead yourself, you can't lead anyone else. Check your reactions. Ask yourself, why did that upset me? Sometimes, it's not what they said. It's what it touched inside you. That's the work. The quiet, invisible work that nobody sees. The work of decoding your emotions so they stop running your life. Emotional intelligence will make you unstoppable because it gives you control where others lose it, inside. Every strong leader, every wise artist, every master strategist, they all have this skill. They see through chaos. They hear what's not being said. They sense the emotional undercurrents that shape every human exchange. And once you can do that, you'll quietly lead people who think they're leading you. They'll think they're steering the conversation, but you're guiding the current. They'll think they're in control, but your awareness is writing the script. Because emotional intelligence lets you move unseen, powerful, centered, unreadable, yet deeply connected. That's the paradox of real strength. It's invisible, but undeniable. So learn to read emotion. Learn to master your reaction. Be the calm in the storm, the stillness in the noise, the wisdom in the heat. And when the world spins around you, stay grounded. Because the one who controls emotion controls the outcome. That's not manipulation. That's mastery. That's what it means to move with emotional intelligence. The quiet power that doesn't need to shout, because its presence is enough to change everything. There's a truth that lives beneath every word, every glance, every gesture, and most people never see it. They're too focused on the sentences, the tone, the performance, but not the pulse beneath it. The pulse is what matters, because energy never lies. You can fake confidence. You can wear charm like armor. You can smile while plotting destruction, but you cannot hide your frequency. Every human being carries a signature, an energetic fingerprint. And whether you believe in it or not, your body reads it long before your mind does. You know that strange feeling when someone walks into the room and instantly makes you uncomfortable, though they've said nothing wrong? Or that calm that floods your chest when a certain person sits beside you, and you don't even know why you trust them? That's energy. Pure, undeniable, ancient communication beyond words. We've forgotten that language came second. Energy came first. Long before humans spoke, they felt. The tribe didn't need words to sense danger. The mother didn't need instructions to feel her child's pain. The warrior didn't need to ask who to trust. His body already knew. Somewhere along the way, civilization replaced instinct with intellect, and we started believing the mask instead of the truth beneath it. But if you want power, real, quiet, unshakable power, you must learn to listen again. Not with your ears, but with your awareness. When you walk into a room, don't rush to speak. Pause. Feel the air. Every space carries residue. The tension of last conversations, the hidden intentions of those present, the balance between respect and fear. The energy of a room can tell you more than any word spoken in it. It tells you who dominates and who submits, who's pretending and who's grounded, who's genuine and who's performing. You'll notice it in the micro moments, the way someone's eyes flicker when their authority is challenged, the brief inhale before they lie, the way laughter sounds heavy when the heart is hollow. People can control their expressions, but not their vibration. And here's what's wild. The more attuned you become to energy, the more your life simplifies. You stop arguing about who's right. You stop overanalyzing mixed signals. You just know. Because energy is the most honest translator of intent. When someone speaks from truth, their presence expands. You can feel the ease in their shoulders, the rhythm in their tone, the clarity in their gaze. When someone lies, their energy tightens, like a coiled spring pretending to rest. Their words may sound smooth, but something in you flinches. It's not paranoia, it's perception. You've always had this ability. The world just made you doubt it. Think back to the people who hurt you, the ones who seemed perfect in the beginning. Was there not a moment, a small voice whispering, "Something feels off"? You ignored it, didn't you? Because you didn't have proof, because you wanted to believe the words. But energy had already spoken. The body is never confused. It senses alignment or dissonance instantly. Your gut is your oldest compass, and when it vibrates with discomfort, it's because your deeper intelligence has already decoded what your conscious mind hasn't yet seen. Energy never lies, but it does whisper before it screams, and that's the key: awareness. When you stop ignoring what you feel, you stop inviting the wrong people into your life. Because toxic people don't announce themselves. They smile first. They mirror you. They say the right things. But their energy, it's heavy, consuming, hungry. They leave you tired after every interaction. They talk, and somehow you lose oxygen. They hug you, and you feel colder afterward. Compare that to the rare few who recharge you. The ones whose presence feels like clarity, like fresh air after rain. Those are the ones whose energy is aligned, consistent, steady, open. Words attract, energy reveals, and consistency confirms. You want to know who someone truly is? Don't listen to what they tell you about their soul. Watch how your own soul reacts around them. Powerful people don't chase good vibes, they become them. Because energy isn't just something you read in others, it's something you radiate. The frequency you emit teaches others how to treat you. If you move with desperation, people sense it. If you move with scarcity, life mirrors it. But when you carry calm certainty, when you walk like you already belong, energy bends around you. You can shift an entire conversation without saying a word. Stand taller. Breathe slower. Speak less. You'll feel the energy realign. People unconsciously adjust their tone, their words, even their posture. Why? Because vibration dominates volume. The higher, calmer, clearer frequency always leads. That's what great leaders understand. They don't force control. They hold it. Their presence does the talking long before they open their mouths. Ever notice how some people silence a room by just walking in? That's not charisma. That's energetic gravity. Their soul is coherent, aligned with their purpose, free of scattered noise. When they enter, everyone's subconscious feels it. That's mastery. You can cultivate that, not through arrogance, but through alignment. Here's how. When your thoughts match your words, and your words match your actions, your energy becomes pure. People feel safe around you. They trust you even if they don't know why, because your vibration is consistent. But when you lie to yourself, when you pretend, when you hide resentment behind kindness, when you smile while hating your reflection, your energy fractures. The world may still applaud you, but the room feels it. You'll always sense invisible resistance. The truth is magnetic. The false is static. So, before trying to read others, cleanse yourself. Get your own energy clean, because a clouded heart misreads everything. Energy work isn't mystical. It's psychological awareness wrapped in silence. Start your mornings with stillness. Before checking your phone, check your frequency. Ask, what do I feel right now? Not, what should I feel, but what is. Is your body tense? Your breath shallow? Your mind racing? That's scattered energy. Don't speak to anyone yet. Don't rush decisions. Center first. You become powerful the moment you stop leaking energy in 10 directions. The moment you stop giving emotional access to everyone who smiles at you. The moment you stop explaining your peace to those who live in chaos. Your energy is currency. Guard it like treasure. And here's the irony. Once you truly understand this law, your circle shrinks, but your influence grows. You'll have fewer people around you, but deeper peace. You'll say less, but your words will carry more weight. You'll stop performing for the crowd because you'll realize that energy doesn't need applause. It just needs authenticity. People may not remember what you said, but they'll never forget how your presence made them feel. That's legacy. That's impact. That's what real power feels like. Because long after the speeches fade, the texts delete, and the memories blur, the vibration you carried will remain inside those who met you. That's why some people enter your life for a moment and still echo in your soul years later. They carried a frequency that touched something eternal in you. So be intentional with the energy you carry. When you walk into a room, don't ask, who will notice me? Ask, what will they feel when I leave? Remember this, energy speaks first. Words only translate. Train yourself to listen to what's beneath the sentence. Observe the eyes, the stillness, the subtle contraction. Listen to how your spirit responds. Because when your awareness sharpens to that level, manipulation loses its grip. Deception can't touch you. You'll feel truth the way a sailor feels, the shift in wind. That's how masters move through life, quietly, gracefully, untouchably. Not because they know everything, but because they feel what others ignore. Energy never lies. And when you finally trust that, neither will you. Walk into any room, and before a single word is spoken, the story has already begun. It's there in the temperature of the air, the stiffness of shoulders, the rhythm of footsteps, the silence before the greeting. Every space holds memory, and if you pay attention, the room will tell you everything you need to know. Most people rush into rooms trying to be seen, but the powerful ones, they see first. They don't fill the silence, they study it, because silence speaks before the voices do. The truth is, energy leaves fingerprints. Every conversation, every argument, every burst of laughter lingers in the air like invisible smoke. You may not hear it, but you can feel it. That tension in your chest when you enter a meeting, that uneasy quiet when two people stop talking the moment you arrive, that's the room talking. Every space has a tone. Every tone has a meaning. And when you learn to read that tone, you stop walking in blind. You begin to anticipate who holds the control, who's uncomfortable, who's pretending. You begin to sense where the current flows and where it resists. This is the art of presence before participation. Think of the great leaders, the great negotiators, the wise elders. When they enter a room, they don't rush to announce themselves. They let the atmosphere reveal itself first. They notice the way chairs are arranged. Is the table round or sharp-edged? They notice who's sitting tall and who's leaning back to appear unconcerned. They notice which eyes dart away, which hands fidget, which smiles come too quickly. Because the body never lies, and the room is an orchestra of bodies tuning themselves before the performance begins. If you listen long enough, you'll realize the performance never stops. Imagine walking into a corporate boardroom. You can feel the hierarchy without hearing a word. The boss leans back slightly, chin lifted, hands loosely clasped, a signal of effortless dominance. The middle managers sit a little too straight, eager to be noticed. The intern's shoulders curve inward, trying to disappear. No one says it, but the room already declared its order. Now imagine walking into a family dinner. The father's laughter is loud but hollow. The mother's smile is tight, rehearsed. The children speak quickly, checking faces before finishing sentences. No one argues, but tension hums under every polite exchange. Words may say love, but the room says fear. That's how truth hides, not in what's said, but in what's suppressed. And when you develop the sensitivity to feel that, you gain a kind of X-ray vision, a way of seeing the emotional blueprint before anyone lays it bare. You see, awareness is not about paranoia. It's about perception. It's about noticing without judging, observing without needing to control. Because control doesn't come from domination. It comes from understanding. Every room has its own nervous system. When people enter, they plug their energy into it. The more aware you are, the more you can trace the flow of that current. Where does tension spike? Where does comfort dissolve? Who disrupts the harmony just by speaking? Who calms it just by breathing? If you can map that in your mind within seconds, you can predict outcomes long before they happen. You'll know when a deal is failing before the rejection. You'll sense when a friend is lying before they confess. You'll feel when a leader has lost respect long before the rebellion. That's not magic. It's awareness refined through patience. Most people, though, are tone deaf to atmosphere. They're too busy rehearsing what to say instead of reading what's being said without words. They think power lives in eloquence, when in truth, it lives in observation. You want influence? Start listening to silence. Because silence is not absence, it's data. It's loaded with emotion, memory, tension. Every pause is a confession. Every hesitation is a signal. Sometimes the longest story in the room is the one told by the quietest person sitting in the corner. Watch them. Watch how they look at others when they're not being watched. That's where truth hides, in the unguarded gaze. Powerful people make rooms speak for them. They don't interrupt energy. They redirect it. They don't force attention. They earn it through presence. Presence isn't loudness. It's alignment. When your awareness, your stillness, your confidence are all in rhythm, the room feels it. People begin to adjust subconsciously. The loud ones get quieter. The anxious ones stabilize. The air clears. And here's the secret. It's not dominance. It's harmony. The one most in tune with the atmosphere leads it. You can feel it in an orchestra when the conductor raises a single hand and the chaos falls into unity. You can feel it in a classroom when the teacher's calm presence makes even restless students focus. You can feel it in life when someone enters with quiet composure and the whole space exhales. That's mastery of the unspoken. To develop it, start small. Next time you enter a cafe, pause at the doorway. Feel the vibration. Is it calm, loud, anxious, joyful? Listen to the rhythm of voices, the laughter, the silence between them. Notice who controls the tone of the room. Then walk in slowly without trying to change anything. Just merge with the current. When you can blend without disturbance, you've learned the first rule of invisible power. From there, start practicing influence through presence. Breathe slower than everyone else. Speak a little softer, but with weight. Hold your gaze a second longer, not in intimidation, but in understanding. You'll see the shift. Conversations begin to align with your tempo. It's like tuning an instrument. The loudest note doesn't lead. The clearest one does. Every environment you walk into is a mirror. It reflects who you are inside. If you enter with chaos, you amplify chaos. If you enter with clarity, you cleanse it. This is why emotionally grounded people can walk into tension and somehow dissolve it without speaking. They're not reacting to the room. The room is reacting to them. But that kind of calm isn't built overnight. It's forged through practice, through watching instead of rushing, feeling instead of fixing, being instead of proving. It's the art of entering slowly, observing deeply, and then, only when necessary, acting precisely. That's what ancient warriors did before battle. They didn't charge blindly. They studied the terrain, the wind, the silence. They read the room, the field, before making a single move. That's what wise monks do when they walk into a hall. They bow first, acknowledging the energy before speaking into it, because respect for the space gives you control over it. So, the next time you enter a room, any room, remember this. The air is already speaking. The walls already know what's true. Before you try to win the crowd, listen to the crowd's silence. Before you declare your truth, read the atmosphere's tension. Before you assert power, align with the current that already exists, because those who listen first lead longest. The room is a living story. Every sound, every breath, every stillness writes another line. And while most are busy talking, trying to be heard, the wise are reading what's already written in the air. That's how you move through the world with quiet certainty. That's how you enter chaos and turn it into order. That's how you walk into noise and let silence do the talking for you. Because before anyone speaks, the room already has. The only question is, were you listening? Confidence isn't loud. It isn't a shout or a swagger. It's quiet. It's steady. It's built one observation at a time. Most people think confidence is something you fake until it becomes real. They think if they smile wide enough, stand tall enough, speak fast enough, the world will believe it. But that kind of confidence crumbles the moment someone challenges it. Because it's not confidence, it's costume. Real confidence grows from clarity. And clarity only comes when you see things as they are, not as you fear they might be. That's why observation, true, patient, deliberate observation, is the foundation of power. When you can read people, when you understand motives, when you notice patterns others miss, your fear begins to dissolve. Because fear feeds on the unknown. And observation starves the unknown. Think about it. The moments when you felt most insecure weren't because someone was stronger than you. It was because you didn't understand them. You were guessing. You were projecting. You are inside your head, not inside the moment. But when you take a step back and watch, when you see that the person intimidating you is just another soul masking their own uncertainty, everything changes. The illusion breaks. You start realizing that nobody really has it all together. Some just hide it better. And once you see that clearly, once you recognize the fear behind someone's arrogance, the fatigue behind their anger, the insecurity behind their showmanship, you stop being afraid of people because you understand them. And when you understand people, you walk differently. Let me tell you something real. When I first started entering rooms full of power, the kind where everyone wore confidence like armor, I used to feel small. I'd shake hands and feel like I was gripping stone. I'd smile, nod, say the right things, but inside I was scanning for approval. Until one day, something shifted. I stopped trying to be seen and started seeing. I watched closely. I noticed that the man who interrupted everyone wasn't dominant, he was desperate. The woman who never smiled wasn't cold, she was protecting herself. The loudest voice in the room wasn't the most secure, it was the most fragile. And the quiet one in the corner, the one who didn't need to prove anything, that was the real power. Once I saw that, my insecurity didn't just fade, it evaporated. Because when you understand human behavior deeply enough, intimidation disappears. You stop taking everything personally. You stop assuming rejection means you're not enough. You stop confusing noise with strength. Look, here's the thing. The world teaches you to perform confidence, not to build it. But performance fades the moment your audience changes. True confidence survives silence, criticism, even loneliness, because it doesn't depend on validation. It's rooted in awareness. Observation gives you that awareness. It's like driving through fog. The more you see, the less you fear. The road didn't become safer, your vision became clearer. That's what awareness does for your soul. It clears the fog. And in that clarity, you find peace. You want to know who truly controls a conversation? It's not the one talking the most. It's the one listening the hardest. The one watching how eyes shift, how hands move, how energy changes with each sentence. The one who notices what isn't being said. That person isn't just in the conversation, they're above it. Observation lifts you to that higher ground. From there, you don't react, you respond. You don't panic, you perceive. That's where unshakable confidence lives, in the calm that comes from understanding what others don't. Unshakable confidence isn't arrogance. It's not pretending to know everything. It's knowing you'll be fine even if you don't. Because you can read the moment. You can adapt. Think of it like this. Most people walk through life like they're trapped in a maze. Every turn feels like a threat. But when you train your observation, it's like walking above the maze. You see the whole layout. You still have to move, but now you move with direction. That's confidence, not certainty, but composure in uncertainty. And observation builds it piece by piece. The great mistake is thinking confidence comes from achievement. It doesn't. It comes from awareness. You can accomplish everything and still feel insecure if you don't understand the world you're winning in. But when you start reading people and environments accurately, you stop chasing reassurance. You start leading it. Because here's the quiet truth. The more you see, the less you need to prove. When you understand people's insecurities, you stop trying to compete with them. When you recognize their patterns, you stop reacting emotionally. When you know where energy shifts, you place yourself with precision. It's not manipulation. It's mastery of yourself first, of others second. And yes, it takes practice. Start small. Watch the next conversation you're in like a scene in a movie. Don't just listen to the words, read the pauses. Notice how often someone breaks eye contact. Notice who adjusts their posture when someone powerful enters. Notice who speaks faster when nervous. The world becomes a classroom, and every person is a teacher. You'll start to see things nobody else does. You'll predict moods before they're spoken. You'll sense lies not through evidence, but through energy. That's when your intuition sharpens, not as a feeling, but as intelligence. Observation and intuition are twins. One feeds the other. And when your intuition matures, you begin to trust yourself fully. That trust is the root of unshakable confidence. There's a moment, quiet but defining, when you stop fearing people's opinions because you can finally see through them. You realize criticism often says more about the critic than the target. You realize praise can be manipulation if you're not aware. You realize silence can mean agreement, or it can mean power, depending on who's holding it. You start seeing every social interaction as an exchange of energy, not just words. Once you reach that level, you stop chasing acceptance. You command it, not by force, but by understanding. Because people can sense when they're seen deeply. They relax around you. They open up. They respect your stillness. That's how leaders are born. Not from ego, from empathy refined through awareness. The irony is this: the more observant you become, the quieter your confidence feels. It's no longer about being right. It's about being real. It's not about dominating the room. It's about stabilizing it. You become the calm in the storm. And that calm draws people in. Because everyone is searching for someone who doesn't need to shout to be sure. That's who you become through observation. The unshakable presence that people trust instinctively. So if you feel small, uncertain, intimidated, don't fake confidence. Build awareness. Watch how people move, how energy shifts, how emotions ripple beneath their words. Understand what drives them, what scares them, what heals them. And then, without forcing it, you'll realize something powerful. You no longer fear them. Because when you see the truth in others, you awaken the truth in yourself. You stop performing. You stop competing. You simply stand. That's real confidence. Not noise, not armor, not performance, just presence. Unshakable, grounded, silent. The kind of confidence that doesn't walk into a room to prove something. It walks in to see everything. Because once you truly understand people, you no longer need their approval. You already have your peace. Power isn't what you show the world. It's what you no longer need to show. True strength doesn't stand on tables or shout from rooftops. It walks quietly, and the world rearranges itself around its steps. That's invisible power, not control, not dominance, but awareness. The ability to read the room without saying a word. To move pieces without anyone realizing you're the one holding the board. Once, you thought power meant attention. You believed it lived in validation, in followers, in applause. But that was before you understood the deeper current. the one that runs beneath all noise. The moment you stopped performing for the world, you started commanding it. Because power begins when noise ends. Look back at your journey. You started in chaos, searching for belonging, trying to be seen. You mistook visibility for value. You mistook fame for force. And yet, the higher you climbed, the more you felt unseen. Because attention isn't energy, it's distraction in disguise. But silence is where energy listens. You discovered that power isn't about proving, it's about positioning. The quietest person in the room is often the one who already knows how the meeting ends. They don't rush. They don't react. They read. They observe patterns, motives, temperature. And by the time others speak, they've already decided the outcome. That's invisible power. Stillness disguised as patience, strategy disguised as calm. You learn to control your reactions, and that changed everything. Because the one who controls emotion controls momentum. They can't push you. They can't provoke you. Your silence becomes a fortress. They can't breach. You no longer chase people, approval, or explanation, because when energy is real, it attracts what belongs. Invisible power isn't arrogance, it's clarity. It's the ability to say nothing and still be heard, to enter a room without performance and still shift its gravity. The secret is awareness. Awareness of your energy, your tone, your timing. Knowing when to speak, when to disappear, when to let others underestimate you. That's how masters move. They don't argue for their greatness. They let results echo for them. You became dangerous the moment you stopped needing recognition. Because recognition is a leash, and invisible power walks free. You started noticing what people reveal without realizing it. A pause, a tone, a half smile. The energy behind words told you everything, and that awareness made you unshakable. Now you understand. You don't win by shouting louder. You win by understanding deeper. Because knowledge isn't power until it's quiet. Invisible power is not about manipulation. It's mastery. You don't move people through fear. You move them through inevitability. Your presence itself becomes persuasion. When others panic, you breathe. When they speak, you listen. When they rush, you wait. Because you know, every emotion has an expiration date, and calmness always outlives chaos. That's your advantage. The old version of you would have reacted. You would have explained, defended, shouted. But now, you just look at them and smile, because you already know how it ends. Invisible power is vision. Seeing 20 moves ahead while others celebrate their first. You play for legacy, not for rounds. And that patience, that quiet, deliberate focus, that's what terrifies small minds. You're not moved by noise because you are the signal. You're not looking for peace because you embody it. You're not chasing power, you radiate it. There's something sacred in being underestimated. It gives you space to grow in the dark. While others announce their next move, you become it. By the time they notice, it's too late. That's invisible power. Transformation in silence, revelation in timing. You know what makes kings and queens different? They don't compete in chaos. They rule from calm. They don't need to fight every battle because their presence alone decides which wars matter. Their authority isn't volume, it's vibration. When you move with invisible power, the world starts to respond to your frequency. Opportunities find you. People sense you before they see you. Your energy starts whispering louder than your words ever could. Because power is never about domination. It's about direction. The one who controls where their attention goes controls reality. Your focus is your throne. Your calm is your crown. And you've earned both. You've walked through storms without breaking. You've been misunderstood and kept your composure. You've been doubted and kept building. You've been silent while others screamed for validation. Now, your silence speaks for you. Every pause you take has weight. Every decision you make has purpose. Every step you take echoes with intention. Invisible power is spiritual. It's the moment you realize that what's meant for you doesn't need to be chased. It's magnetized by your energy. You attract what matches your peace. You repel what disturbs it. That's the mastery. To move without motion, to command without control, to lead without speaking. You are now that force. You are the observer who became the architect, the student who became the symbol, the listener who became the law. You don't just know the game, you've transcended it. Because when you master invisible power, you realize there is no game left to play. You've become the gravity that others orbit, the calm in a chaotic universe, the unseen hand behind every outcome. And when people ask where your strength comes from, you'll simply say, from learning that silence is not weakness, it's strategy. Because that's the truth of mastery. Power that must be seen is fragile. Power that can stay unseen is forever. So step into that energy. Move through the world without noise. Let your focus be your empire. Let your calm be your command. Let your presence be your proof. Because the moment you no longer need to be noticed, that's when the world finally can't ignore you. That is the art of invisible power. Before you go, let me leave you with this. Every master you admire, every leader you respect, every person who moves through life with quiet certainty, they all share one secret. They learn to see before they learn to speak. The artist observes light before painting. The warrior studies the opponent before striking. The wise listen to silence before offering wisdom. This isn't just about reading people. This is about reading life itself. When you master observation, you master timing. When you master timing, you master outcomes. And when you master outcomes, you become the author of your own story. So go forward with new eyes. See the patterns others ignore. Hear the truths beneath the noise. Feel the energy that never lies. And remember, the most powerful people in the room aren't always the most visible. They're the most aware. Be that person. Thank you for watching. Your journey to invisible power starts now.